Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's a great pleasure to see you all here today at the live webinar with Reyna Silver and Reyna Gold. And our topic today, as you can see, the district scale precious metals opportunities in Mexico. My name is Adina, and I'm a director at Emerging Markets Capital that is hosting this event. So Emerging Markets Capital is a private mining investment firm. We're based in Hong Kong, and we're also an early investor in both Reyna Silver and Reyna Gold. Just a quick reminder that this webinar is for informational purposes only. So we're gonna start with Reyna Silver. I'm sure many of you are quite familiar with this company, but in case you're not, it's a silver exploration company with a robust portfolio of silver assets in Mexico and the US, trading on TSXV under ticker RSLV. And Reyna's strategy is to focus on projects that have the potential for district scale and high-grade discoveries. And just this morning, a company put out a press release about one of its exciting projects, Medicine Springs. So during the presentation today, our speakers will share more details. And Reyna Gold, it's a gold exploration company focused on district scale discoveries on two major gold belts in Mexico, covering 57,000 hectares. And we're very excited that Reyna Gold will commence trading tomorrow on January 11th. And the company put out a press release this morning as well, sharing their sampling campaign results at La Gloria project, their flagship asset. So again, Michael will talk about this press release in a more detail. Speaking today, first of all, Dr. Peter Magall, the Chief Technical Advisor of both Reyna Silver and Reyna Gold. He is very well known in the Mexican mining industry, bringing over 40 years of experience in the Mexican geology. And he's a recipient of 2017 PDAC Tirelessly Award. Dr. Peter Magall and his team are credited for significant discoveries at Platosa, Juanicipio, Cinco de Mayo. So thank you, Peter, for joining us today. Next, representing Reyna Gold, Michael Wood, bringing experience in the venture capital and capital markets. He has been investing in the mining sector for over 10 years. He's a co-founder and CFO of Reyna Silver and a director of Cassier Gold. And representing Reyna Silver, Jorge Ramiro Monroy, the CEO, has over 10 years of experience of investing in the mining sector, being a former director at Prime Mining and current director at Sierra Madre Gold. Jorge holds a bachelor's degree from the State University of New York and an MBA in finance from the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. So our logistics today like this. We will start with the Reyna Silver presentation for about 20 minutes. Next, we will move to Reyna Gold. And at the end, we will have a Q&A session for both companies. So if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to leave them in the Q&A box, or you can drop me an email as well to adina@emarcap.com. So with this, Jorge, I'm handing over to you, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Adina. I really appreciate your introduction. And again, thank you for hosting us for this webinar. So first of all, thank you very much for everyone who's joining this presentation today. Again, we're very excited to have the opportunity to present Reyna Silver, both for our existing shareholders to give you an update, and then with a brief introduction that I will do now for any of you who might be new to the Reyna Silver story. I'll want to mention that I will be making forward-looking statements, so please do your own research. The Reyna Silver is a company that's based around the exploration ideas from Peter Magall, who Adina just introduced briefly, and basically the idea of focusing on high-quality asset using new exploration approaches that are being applied into historic districts. Our main focus is in Mexico and Nevada. We have a very strong institutional support through the investors that we have in the company. We're well funded for achieving the exploration targets that we have put forward. A little bit of the history of the company. I started the company in 2017 as a private company. I really had this incredible interest in investing in the silver space. At the time, silver was doing very poorly. As you might remember, it was fluctuating between $12 and $15. And through a conversation I had with Peter, I was asking him for advice on assets that might be available for acquisition. And Peter was very kind to me in explaining that if you want to be in the silver exploration business, you can take two approaches. One is you go and take an asset that might be a little bit more advanced, that perhaps has a resource that needs $25+ to work. Or the approach that he thought was more exciting was look for historic mines that produced silver at very high grades, but that have not been explored using modern technology, and focus on those discoveries, because Peter has, over his years of experience, a very well established method and ideas for exploration that have been very successful. So we chose that focus, and on the back of that, we did a deal with Mag Silver, where we took two of their original properties, two properties that Peter himself had put together in the years prior to Mag Silver. Those are Guigui and Batopilas, which you can see here, both of them in the state of Chihuahua. Guigui was actually Peter's doctoral thesis, a major part of what we like to call the missing half of a major silver district. And then Batopilas, which is historically Mexico's highest grade silver mine, and one that has never been in a company that had the budget that we've been able to put together to move this project forward. And then we also acquired a third project in 2020, just after our IPO, which is called Medicine Springs, and that we're very excited to have announced this morning some very exciting results of our first pass at exploring the property, and Peter will be sharing those details. We have 100 million shares outstanding. As of last quarter, we had just about 11 million in cash. You can see some of our major shareholders here, but these are some of the main institutional funds that invest in exploration companies like ours. We do have coverage from Red Cloud, and if you go to this presentation on our website, you can find the name of the analyst, Tim Lee, and if you wanted a copy, you were able to write to him to request him for one. Adina did introduce Peter. I think I won't go into too much detail in addition to what Adina say, other than Peter's main approach to exploration has been focusing on districts that had produced high grade. Like I said, Guigui is a project that Peter has been involved with as a student. He did his PhD dissertation on Guigui. I think you see here in the screen Lauren McGaw, who's actually Peter's daughter, and Lauren just recently joined us. She's completing her studies as a master's student at Stanford, where she's specializing in CRDs as well. And she's joined us to help us with the business development and investor relations side of the business. Lauren is with Peter in Mexico right now at the Guigui property, and meeting also our team from Batopilas. And the other person that has we're very lucky to have in our advisory board is Doug Kerwin, who is a former VP of exploration at Ivanhoe Mines, a very successful geology in his own right, and one of our original investors. You see myself here. I'm the CEO of the company. My background is with capital markets, and as an entrepreneur, I'm originally from Mexico, and I am somebody who's incredibly passionate about discoveries and been funding mining companies for over a decade. And our chairman is Peter Jones, who's the former CEO of Hudbay Minerals. And we have a very strong exploration team that's led by a group of geologists in Mexico, all of whom have been working as a team with Peter for a couple of decades, and we have very strong experience with some of the major companies in Mexico. Peter is at the core shack in our project in Mexico, and I understand he was having a little bit of technical difficulties. I don't know, Peter, if you've been able to reestablish your connection.
Can you hear me, Jorge?
Yeah, we can hear you quite well. I have introduced the main aspects of the company. So if you can see the presentation here in the screen, I'll hand it to you and I'll move the slides for you.
Okay, well, let's start with Guigui, which is in the Sta Eulalia Mining District. There's an old saying in our business that the best place to find a mine is in the shadow of a head frame. This is a district that has over 500 million ounces of silver production historically, along with about 8 million metric tons of lead and zinc. At nice grades, 10 ounces silver or 310 grams silver, 8% lead, 7% zinc. This is the kind of thing we would love to find here. Next slide, please. So this just shows the history of Guigui over time. So this district was found in 1662. Main production was from 1700 on. From 1990, I've been working in the district. This was one of the 3 projects we started MAG Silver with in 2003. Reyna Silver acquired Guigui and Batopilas from MAG in 2018. In 2020, we added La Chinche, which is a significant land position that we acquired on the north side of the original Guigui claim. And since then, we've been doing aggressive exploration, having wrapped up a 12,000 meter phase 1 drilling program just this last fall. So this is a classic model that we've generated over the years, in large part based on Sta Eulalia and other districts like this, where this model has now been tried and tested in a number of districts worldwide. The basic idea is you have this hot intrusion, magma that exudes mineralizing fluids. They work their way outward from this. Where they encounter limestone, they make what we call carbonate replacement mineralization, and that can extend for 6 to maybe 8 kilometers from that intrusive source. Now, when you look at this model, there's that white circle on the bottom. That's the half of Sta Eulalia that's never been found. So that 500 million ounces of silver came from those smaller pieces that you can see on the right-hand side. And then what we're looking for should be the larger volume coherent mineralization associated with the intrusive center. And we're pretty sure we got pretty close to that intrusive center with our drilling last year. Before we move on from this slide, we should point out this is exactly the same exploration model that we're using at the Medicine Springs project that Adina mentioned we have just put out a press release on this morning. In the case of Medicine Springs, however, we have the whole system yet to work with. So we don't have anything missing. And we're working with things like where you see those veins up at the very top. Those are the kind of leakages that we're considering at Medicine Springs, and sampling should be leading us to the rest of a project that we hope is as big as Sta Eulalia. So this is more like what we're doing at Guigui. On the left-hand side, those are shapes of the ore bodies that were mined for 300 years. They were tracked to the south in the direction of Guigui. We're working through, and that's that pale green color that you see. That's the host limestone. The pink is the intrusion that we're looking for, along with some dike-like offshoots that come up from it. The surface at Guigui is covered with pre-mineral volcanic rocks. Those are the tan units that you see on top of that red blob. And we're looking for alteration and leakage through those volcanics from mineralization underneath. And then once we find that source at depth, we'll work our way back up through that limestone column towards the surface, because we ought to be able to find more mineralization like what you see on the left-hand side of the diagram between the intrusion and the surface. So we have 1,200 meters of limestone to work with. We just need to figure out where the mineralization starts, and then we'll work our way upwards and outwards from there. This is a map showing the claim, shown in light blue. The green dots are the drill holes that we put in phase one. The red dots are historic drill holes well away from where we're concentrating. Our best results are in that cluster of holes that you see in sort of the central upper part right in there. That's where hole 28 is, which is the biggest hole we've hit to date on the project. And this is actually right between the two historic parts of the mining district, the West Camp and the East Camp. So very exciting. And we're moving forward. Actually, the reason we're here in Sta Eulalia right now is to plan where the next drill holes are. There's a cross section through the district, so this shows what we found. That big red blob is a new intrusion, never before seen in the district. The upper pink one we've seen repeatedly, but this red one is a new unit. We think it's very close to the source intrusion, and the dark red that you see in it is where it has been affected by mineralized skarn mineralization. So it's been very strongly affected by mineralizing fluids, and we're now trying to track that mineralization back to where it came from. And then, as I mentioned, we'll work our way upwards and outwards from there. Just a table of the drill results showing that we've been getting some very good numbers, especially high zinc numbers, like almost 6%, over 11%, but also some very high silver numbers, up to half a kilogram silver, and interestingly, 1.6% copper. These are the kinds of numbers you'd expect to see as you get closer to the source of the system. So we're very happy with the geochemistry that we've been getting from our drilling. Just a few quick shots just to show you what the stuff looks like. That bright green color that you see there is a mineral epidote. It's a skarn mineral. The dark that you see is a silver-bearing sulfide. That particular sample, probably 900 or over a kilogram silver, 500 grams silver. So very high-grade silver. Exactly the kind of thing we're looking for. Here's an example of the more zinc-rich mineralization. That's essentially pure sphalerite that you see on the right-hand side, and that particular intercept runs 11.3% zinc. And again, this is with an overall 50-meter run of mineralized skarn. So now we jump to the Batopilas Mining District. This is Mexico's historic highest grade silver district ever. It is characterized by native silver mineralization. Those bricks that you see with those guys standing next to them, those are silver bars weighing about 25 kilograms each. That's 1 month's production from back in 1906. So that's 350,000 ounces of silver. The ore bodies there were essentially Brillo pads of crystallized native silver in calcite. That's what they went after, and that's what we're looking for. And we're getting some interesting surprises here, please. So again, the timeline on the district from Spanish mining back in the 1600s, where they found these things on the surface and they worked their way down, then into the late 1800s, which Jorge is going to talk about again in a minute, where they came in underneath these with a tunnel and tried to work their way up, which they did quite successfully until 1913, when the mine was closed during the Mexican Revolution. It has never effectively reopened. We consolidated the district from Mag Silver back in 2003. It was passed to Reyna Silver in 2018, and Reyna is now actively exploring with a drill campaign active right now. So we came into this silver-dominated district, and we got this wonderful surprise, which was a whole high-grade gold zone, which had never been seen before in the district. So when you explore things on a district scale basis, sometimes you get some very pleasant surprises. Here's a plan map of the district showing our claim in blue, some of the historic workings and the historically mined veins shown in red. The circles that you see in green and yellow and red are the drill holes we've put in. That cluster of holes at the northeast end is where we're getting the high-grade gold numbers. We've gotten some very good silver numbers in the holes down to the left of those, down to those southwest. And an example there of what the silver looks like when you're in the really good stuff. So we're carrying on from work that was done, but not completely followed through on. And that's what we're working with in this incredibly high-grade silver district. This zooms in a little closer. It shows the cluster up there again in the northeastern corner. Those yellow dots are where the high-grade gold is. And we're talking about, we've got some samples there that those trench samples that ran better than 42 kilograms silver and 21 grams gold. So there's a lot of very interesting mineralization up in this area, and it just has a few historic peckings on it. So this is the first time anybody's done any significant exploration in this entire part of this district with 350 years of history. So this is just a table that shows some of the higher grade numbers that we reported last fall. Very good silver, very good gold, and we're following up on these with active drilling right now. Some shots of the core in the high grade zone on the right-hand side. A lot of what you see in there underneath that knife is massive native silver. That particular intercept ran 703 grams silver, but it also has 3 grams gold. So we're seeing the gold and silver together as separate stages within the vein. So it's telling us something interesting about this northeast part of the district that hadn't been recognized before. So now we're moving to Nevada, Medicine Springs. This is the press release we put out this morning. This is a historic district, but with pretty minor historic production. A lot of drilling done back in the 80s, looking for a shallow, oxidized, open pitable silver resource. But when we look at this thing, everything tells us there's a larger system here, carbonate replacement, very similar to Guigui, present somewhere in the system. When we first went out there, the first thing we recognized was the system was a lot bigger than we thought it was. We could see these jasperoid veins, and jasperoids are just the exhaust of mineralization in one of these systems. So after they dumped out the metals that we care about, the fluids still have some silica that reacts with the limestone. And in the particular case of Medicine Springs, there's a whole series of strong parallel structures, faults, and the fluids moved along those in multiple pulses. And some of those were jasperoids, some of them were metals, some of them were barite, but a very active and very expensive system. So we started with a system that was about 10 by 10 kilometers, mapped out these jasperoids and sampled them. The next map shows the results of that sampling. So the dots that you see there are actually the samples that gave good results. We had over 750 samples that we took in this area, but these are the ones that show you the high grade copper, lead, zinc, silver, and silver. And so what we're seeing is a cluster of these deposits in an area about 2.5 by 4 kilometers. It runs right up to the limit of outcrop. The system probably continues for some distance underneath cover to the northeast, but we see what looks like a nice zoning from copper to zinc to lead to silver, which is this classic zoning you would expect to see with respect to the center of one of these systems. So this program, it came out to be spectacularly successful, in my opinion. I've never seen CRD jasperoid sampling program come out with results that are as strong as these, and B, as nicely zoned as they are. So we think this is going to give us a very strong basis for designing our drilling program going forward that we hope to drill sometime later this year. So very excited by these early days, but very strong results from Medicine Springs. And I think I turn it back to Jorge at this point.
Thank you, Peter. Yes, and what I like to share with everyone is what our company's catalysts are over the next few months. At Guigui, as you know, we are quite advanced on the second stage of the maybe just to refresh everybody, we did it the first 12,000 meters. Those are the results that Peter discussed just now at Guigui. And then we're about, a good 60 to 70% of the way on phase 2 drilling at Guigui. took a small pause during Christmas because we did some geophysics in the property. We've received the results of the geophysics, and we are having a lab in Vancouver help us reinterpret and reprocess the geophysics. And that the purpose of that, of course, is to give us more accuracy on our drill targets. But we're just shortly going to resume and bring that program to completion. And of course, waiting for assays from the labs, and our intention is to release those results as soon as we have something cohesive and comprehensive to deliver to the market. At Batopilas, similarly, we're advancing our drilling, and we're also waiting for some lab results. But we also took an opportunity during the Christmas break to do a geophysics campaign. We're waiting for those results, again, to just help us with our accuracy. We have a separate team who's generating more targets, and we hope to be able to bring this phase 1 of drilling to completion in the next couple of months, and keep the drill results coming as we have a comprehensive package to release. And then at Medicine Springs, we've with the results that Peter shared today, we are getting very close to having those drill targets. The Medicine Springs property is one that it does have a fair bit of snow this time of the year, so we'll have to wait for that snow to melt. It typically happens in April or May. In parallel, we have started looking at the process of permitting the property, but we do have an intention to drill that property this year as well. So those are the things to look for. What I will leave you with in terms of the company is a very unique proposition in terms of our peers. We have 3 projects, all of which have the potential for district scale and high grade silver projects. And so far we are very pleased with the results. So with that, what I would like to do now is introduce Michael Wood, who's the CEO of Reyna Gold. And while Michael is getting ready, I'll just give you a little bit of background on Reyna Gold, which is obviously our sister company. Peter and I discussed a lot of the concepts that came together for Reyna Gold quite a few years back, and really noticing that Mexico is very unique in North America in terms of gold, because it is, of course, a major gold producer, although it's more known for silver. And a lot of what happens in Mexico is that because you have quite a bit of a bigger ease to put mines into production compared to, let's say, in US and Canada. I think as you might know, a lot of companies in Mexico tend to go into production sometimes even without a resource. I think you just saw a case like Minera Alamos that went into production without even before they had a resource. We wanted to take a little bit of a different approach, and we put together 4 districts. In fact, 2 of the districts Peter had been working on even for quite a few years prior to us discussing Reyna Gold, and we took those projects to put them into the company. It's a very similar concept to Reyna Silver, but of course with the focus on gold. And I wanted to, before Michael starts his presentation, maybe just have Peter say a few words about gold exploration in Mexico and why it's so unique, and the potential that we see. Peter, if you wouldn't mind.
Oh, sure, happy to. From 50,000 feet. I mean, remember that the conquistadors, the Spanish, came to Mexico in the 1500s because of the Aztec gold. What they found was a whole bunch of silver. Basically, that became the backbone of Mexican mining for the next multiple centuries. Somehow Mexico developed a reputation of not having gold, even though Many of the major silver deposits also carried significant gold grades and produced millions of ounces of gold in addition to hundreds of millions of ounces of silver. And then recognition basically from the 1980s or 90s till the present of two major gold fields, one down in Guerrero and then the one up in Sonora where Reyna Gold is working. And so these are areas where large disseminated gold deposits have been found, major open pits, very large 5 to 10 million ounce resources. And these are underappreciated, relatively new exploration, and we've managed to pick up a good property package, and we're looking forward to getting that up and running now that Reyna is going on the board to join us. So with that, we should let Michael tell the story of Reyna Gold.
Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Jorge. Delighted to be about to start trading tomorrow. As with Reyna Silver, we're not looking for anything small. As Peter likes to say, we're elephant hunting. We're looking for big deposits, interesting deposits. I think we show from our initial results today, ones of grade as well. I mean, we've just put out grade. I don't know if everybody's seen, but grade's up to 94 grams per ton from a quartz vein and 46 grams per ton from a Shearzone. So fantastic initial results, and really a great way to start trading on the TSX tomorrow. Very similar. I think we can skip through this. I mean, the concept is we've acquired a lot of land on these two major gold trends in northwestern Mexico, which run down from the US. And I think a lot of people are familiar. Across the border in Arizona, Nevada, California, so much gold is being produced. About 5% of the gold ever produced has come from that part of the world. Nevada continues to produce about 5% of global gold supply. And then across the border in Mexico, it's a fraction. And why is that? Fascinating question. Once the US actually got California, Nevada, Arizona after the American-Mexican War in 1848, they immediately announced gold. People flocked from all around the world. 300,000 people flocked to California in the Great Gold Rush of 1849. And ever since, there's been an industrial gold production in that part of the world in America. But south of the border, it's been a fraction. There's never been big scale industrial production. A big factor is politics. Until 1995, if you wanted to go in prior to NAFTA, you had to go in with a local Mexican JV partner. So that put off a lot of companies and a lot of foreign capital. Since 1995, there's been a lot of discoveries. These two big gold trends have produced a number of major mines, La Herradura being the biggest, which is the biggest gold mine in Mexico, produces about 500,000 ounces a year. There's been almost 16 million ounces of gold found and mined at La Herradura, and there's a lot more. So that is the prize. That is what kind of asset we're looking for. And we're delighted with the land packages we had, and as well the team that we put together. We have Peter and Doug, who are world famous geologists, but we also have a number of exceptional young local Sonoran geologists who are on the ground and producing these fantastic results. And it's great to see them all working under the guidance of Peter and Doug. And then finally, we have a great shareholder register. I'll go through it in more detail, but we've got some great shareholders. A lot of the major mining funds have been supportive. We did the capital raise in August when the markets were quite dead. We wanted to raise a minimum of 5. We raised 10.5. We didn't want to. We got so many good investors coming forward asking for big tickets. We didn't want to turn the money away. So we're well capitalized, and looking forward to exploring. So this is a little bit more about the part of the world that we're focused on. We've got these two major gold trends. Almost 50% of the gold from Mexico comes from Sonora and Chihuahua. I think these are the 2020 numbers. I think the 2021 numbers will be higher in favor of this part of the world. And yeah, across the border, you've got a powerhouse of global gold production. And that's what Peter has really drawn to Jorge and my attention, that this is a great opportunity. And if you put a good team together with good land packages and you have the capital to explore, hopefully we can find good results. And the types of deposits that have been found already, you have big disseminated gold systems like the Carlin-style deposit in Nevada, where most of the production comes from now in the US. But you also have these high-grade gold systems. And on our property already, we're starting to show high grade. It's fantastic at surface, and it'll be great as a team explores the property more to understand it more. Exactly what kind of system we have. But we're very happy with the results so far, and really looking forward to getting a better understanding of the system or systems that we have on our land. Just La Gloria is 24,000 hectares. That's 240 square kilometers. This is a big land package. Arizona is the same, 24,000 hectares. So we have substantial land packages, really in prime locations on these two major gold trends. So this is our capital structure with some of our shareholders. We have Willem Middelkoop, Tobias Tretter, Larry Lefford, Jeremy Bond, all very famous guys in the sector. Their funds have come in, and there are a number of other funds that are very knowledgeable of the sector, and it's fantastic to have their support. So here's the capital structure raised at 13.6. We have warrants on the books as well. If they come in 65 cents, there'll be another 8.5 million. So we're pretty well capitalized and looking forward to exploring. I don't think we need to talk too much about Peter. I think everybody knows who he is. And then Doug as well. Doug is a world famous geologist, worked for Robert Friedland for 17 years. As soon as Doug was on the plane to La Gloria, he was trapped in Thailand. He's based in Thailand. As soon as he got his second shot, he jumped on a plane and did a site visit with Ariel and his dad, and gave great insight and great guidance, and really is quite fascinated of the project and excited about going forward. I think he might revisit again in the next month or so. He's back in North America. So in addition to the names you probably know, one name you might not be familiar with is Dr. Castro Molina. We call him Catro. He worked for Corp Mining in Mexico since 2007 until last year when he retired. Was head of exploration, and then was the GM for Corp in Mexico. So he's a geologist by background, trained in the US. Good friends with Peter and Doug and the whole team, and it's great to have him on the board. We have Rafael Guerrero, one of Peter's right-hand men, worked with Peter since 1992. Now he's on the ground for us in a lot more detail. And then Herdal Garcia is someone Ariel has brought in. He's worked at both La Herradura and El Chanate, the two big mines, on the trend that we have, the specific part of the Mojave-Sonora Megashear, which we refer to as the Caborca Gold Belt. It's great to have Ariel on the ground with Herdal and a number of other great geologists. And then finally, Steve Blackwin, who's someone we've known for a long time. He's the chairman of Cassiar Gold that I'm on the board of. And me and Jorge have known him for a number of years, and great to get his guidance. You know, he's been in the gold sector a long time, running a mid-tier producer. So it's great to be able to call on his wisdom. I'll quickly go through this and get more into the Gloria project, and particularly the sample results that we released today. But here are the 4 projects. The 2 big ones, that's both 24,000 hectares. And the 2 at the bottom being put together by Peter and his team over the last few years. Very prospective projects, good sample grades already on these 2. And particularly Don Porfirio, I think we're quite excited about getting to work on in detail. You can see some great grades there in the sampling. But La Gloria, we put out today, we've sampled up to 93.9 grams gold on a quartz vein. And it's a fantastic start. This quartz vein is basically vertical. It's about 352 degrees. So the geologists are very excited to see if we can chase this down. If we can chase this down a few hundred meters, it would obviously be a great start to the company's drilling. Let me skip through this. We're running a bit short of time and get on to the sample results. So you can see we have 2 great grades that, no, actually, let me quickly explain a bit about the main zone before I jump into this. Let me use this slide here, actually. I think this is best. So the main zone is where was the core, the historic exploration was done. And in this big pit area, we noticed established Shearzone running east to west across the top part of the property. And interestingly, we're also starting to show indications that it extends out of this main zone. We particularly think into El Sombrero to the east and potentially down into the western area as well, to the west. So that's something we're actively exploring. So we have the big pit Shearzone, and then at the bottom here, we have Pique Viejo. Now, this is a completely different style of mineralization. It's quartz veining, and there's a lot of veins visible at surface. We're hoping to get some high grade, 2 grams is okay, but if we could get 20 grams plus, it'd be great. So it's great to have two veins already identified that are over 20 grams, 93 and 36. And then in this plasters area over here, we have intrusive mineralization and again, veining. So it's what we're also very interested to see is, what's caused this change in mineralization style between Pique Viejo and Big Pit. So that's something we're going to do a lot more work in between these targets over the coming months as well. But having said that, so let's just go back to the results we put out today. Great results from both Pique Viejo and also from the Shearzone at Big Pit, 46 grams, 24 grams, 20 grams per ton. And interestingly, these results at Big Pit came to the western part of where most of the historic work was done. So this is definitely something we're going to put more work to. And you can see, just looking at the yellow dots, we're kind of starting to see a high grade trend running across the northern part of the property, kind of southwest to northeast is the view. And we believe that's running up into El Sombrero, which is here. And it will be interesting to see how far we can follow this trend across here, whether it goes across the regional fault line. It will be interesting to see. And interestingly as well, we're working on Astro and Worldwide 3 imaging. We've just got it back from the gentleman that's interpreted it for us. And there's a lot of showings over here in the western part of the property. So it'll be interesting to see as well how this kind of shear zone extends to the west. So we really want to explore the shear zone east and west, particularly western, following on from these great results. But you can see as well, we've got so many results. 555 of the samples at the Big Pit came back at over 0.1 grams gold. Now, in this part of the world, 0.1 is actually not a bad grade. A lot of the mines operate at 0.2. These are heap leach deposits. La Herradura, the mine up the road, the cutoff is 0.2. So 0.1 is in the ballpark for actually, producing. So it's very interesting. And then a lot of high grade stuff, 23 samples over 5 grams per ton. And then additionally, we've also got high grade down at La Quintas, San Pedro, and also slightly over in this Alamo Muerto part of the property on the eastern fault. So lots to explore, really fascinated by the initial results, but we will really focus on this core zone at first. The drilling will commence both at Big Pit and Pique Viejo in February, and sampling will continue around this area over the coming months. Let me just jump back to this slide. Really, we've already identified 4 types of gold mineralization on the property in the same host rocks as the major deposits on the trend, metasedimentary rocks. We have quartz veins, and as we've just shown, we've got some high-grade ones at Pique Viejo, and also down in La Quinta, San Pedro, La Quintas West. We have the shear zone mineralization in Big Pit running into El Sombrero, potentially also into Western, or the gap between Big Pit and, main zone and Western. And then we have intrusive style mineralization at main zone, Plastas, La Quinta, San Pedro, and La Quintas West. So there's definitely been multiple episodes here. We believe there's been both orogenic and intrusive related episodes of gold mineralization on the property. And then up at the north part of the property, we have a stockwork system, La Republicana and California. And there's a lot of visible veins also in that part of the property, which we really want to explore in a lot more detail over the coming months. And it's all based around these 2 parallel fault lines running across the property. In total, we have over 75 kilometers. These fault lines run across our property, parallel to each other on the Mojave-Sonora Megashear. And if we just jump back to this slide, this is the Mojave-Sonora Megashear, and you can see our property is here. Our Chanate is just 2 kilometers to the south. And then we have the 2 Fresnillo properties here just up on trend. So the trend runs up northwest towards the US. And you can see up above the US border, these are the older mines, Mesquite, American Gill, big mines, same, again, similar style mineralization in host rocks, and really shows the potential that this trend has. It's a very interesting trend that hasn't had, we believe, the interest that it should have had over the previous time. So I think on that, Jorge, I think that we can move over to Q&A. I think we've covered the main parts of the work that we've done to
maybe talk just a little bit about the some of the historic work that has been done in La Gloria, and then maybe just briefly about the other assets.
Yeah, actually, one interesting fact is like the highest grade sample that was found at La Gloria prior to our results was 8.9 grams. So we found substantially higher than what ever been found before. La Gloria is, I think, quite kind of it's a good example actually of this part of the world. It was only really explored from 2006 to 2013. And you can see from this slide, initially the company that had it, High Vista Gold, started off with a reasonable drill campaign in 2007, 2008 at 5,000 meters. And then they weren't able really to raise money after that. They did 1,000 meters here, 2,000 meters there. They switched from diamond drilling to RC drilling to keep the cost down. And the average depth of these holes was 60 meters, 69 meters was the exact depth. So really they were just scratching the surface. We believe that they were just trying to build a bulk tonnage near surface deposit that they could easily process. This kind of material is very easy to process. So we believe that's what's going on. And then prior to that, it was really just been in the hands of locals. Jorge, Ariel, Peter, Rafa did a great job putting this property together. We did 3 separate deals with local landowners. It took them a long time. It really needs local experience to be able to put something like this together. So, you know, prior to 1995, it was really not even looked at from a Western perspective. If we go back to that cycle, prior to 1995, farm people really weren't looking at this part of the world. Newmont went in with a joint venture with Fresnillo. That's really the only notable one. And Fresnillo bought them out in the end. So, you know, we're delighted to have this property. We think it's got a great deal of potential. And I think our team has showed with these initial results that hopefully we have a team that can really take this property to the next level. So with that, Jorge, I think let's jump into some Q&A.
Great, thank you. I really enjoyed the presentation. So let us jump to the Q&A session. So we received a few questions as of now, and I just wanted to remind you, our participants, if you have any questions, please type them in the Q&A box. So let us start with Reyna Silver. So some of the drilling at Guigui sounds quite deep, 1,000 meters or more. Are you having any challenges getting the drill that deep? And if so, how are you handling those challenges?
Actually, we're not having any trouble at all getting the holes down to those depths. We're using Globe Explorer. They've got powerful machines, good experienced drillers, as you encounter down here in Mexico. So that hasn't been an issue for us.
And the question for Reyna Gold about the press release. Can you please explain the results in the figure 1 of the press release? 12,415 and 12,072 are both 1 and 1 meter. Are these blocks? What is the difference to the length of the other holes?
Yeah, sure. This is figure 1 from the press release. The yellow areas are the target areas identified by the team so far, where we're focusing in, having done some initial work, and then we've highlighted the high grade samples. We've put on the widths, a channel sample. The ones that are blocked are what we call dumps, so then it's a square. So when it's 1 by 1, it's 1 meter by 1 meter. So that explains that. I think, just highlight that here's the Pique Verjo grades here. We have the big pit ones here. And then we have these 4 relate to La Quinta San Pedro. And then here we have over Alamo Muerto. And here is the Chanate mine, which was almost 2 million ounces, just down on trend, sits right on the regional fault line. So that's definitely a good indication. As Peter says, we're right next to a major deposit, and we're delighted really to have all this land, along both of these faults. I think there's so much potential, and we're well capitalized and really excited to be exploring.
So the question for Reyna Silver next. Many exploration companies are experiencing significant delays at assay labs. Can anything be done to improve turnaround times? What do you see? When do you see things returning to normal?
Yeah, so Meg, I'm happy to answer that question. You know, at specifically in our projects, we experienced some major delays in a big chunk of last year. However, that is improving. So we are. It certainly has been getting quite a bit better in specifically for the Guigui project. The labs are coming a little bit faster, so we're definitely seeing an improvement. Now as you know, the COVID pandemic is really raging again back in Mexico, so we're hoping that we don't see any delays as a result of this. But we did see a marked improvement, I would say about September, October of last year. The assays have been coming quite a bit faster now.
Thank you. So the next question, I believe, is for Reyna Gold. Do you have the ambition to make the mine? I received this question when Michael, you were talking about the La Gloria project. So I guess this question refers.
Yeah, I mean, we have the ambition to make a big discovery, And then we'll hopefully have the optionality of whether we turn into a producer or, someone offers a nice price and we have an exit. We're obviously explorers. We're focused on exploration, and that is the focus of the company for at least 2 or 3 years. And then we'll assess. I think most likely in this market, if you build up a good gold deposit, there'll be a lot of people wanting to take it off your hands. So I think most likely we would exit and we would, give it over to a major producer, but we'll see how the market is at that time.
Okay, the question for Peter. Peter, when you talk about half the system at Guigui is missing, does this mean you believe there could be another 500 million ounces there? What are the keys to finding the missing system?
Well, the keys to finding the missing system are finding that source intrusion that drove everything and then look for mineralization around it. It stands to reason that if the distal part of the system can make 500 million ounces, that there should be a comparable amount of silver and other metals in the more proximal zone. The more proximal style of mineralization in these systems tends to be a larger volume, slightly lower grade, but much more coherent and much lower mining cost. So all things that would play in our favor going forward. So
the question for Reyna Gold, is Reyna Gold a second Kirkland Lake?
Well, not yet. I think we're a long way from that, but it would be great if we could start to show some exactly high grade deposits like they have. Would be fantastic. But for now, we're focused on initial exploration. We're delighted with the initial results and looking forward to the future.
Michael, maybe you could talk a little bit about the mines that are close to us, maybe just for some reference.
Yeah. So La Herradura is the biggest gold mine in Mexico. Hadar was working at there until he came to work for us as an exploration geologist, very familiar with the property, as is Ariel and basically all our team. That's something that Fresnillo built up from scratch. Actually, it was completely covered deposit, as Peter explains. In this part of the world, there's a lot of cover, and that's actually another reason. A lot of the stuff in the US there's less cover. So La Herradura was discovered basically 40 meters below the Sonoran Desert sand. Fresnillo found this deposit, and now it's a monster open pit, goes down 1.1 kilometers open pit. The mineralization, I think, continues somewhat below the open pit as well. So that, is the prize. Chanate just next door is a similar deposit. As we have up across the board in the US, we have these big disseminated gold systems with some higher grade sections. We've got the quartz veining combined with the disseminated gold systems, which produce an interesting deposit. But all these deposits are heat leachable. So, that's just like in Nevada. So that really helps on the cost. La Herradura, although it only mines at about 0.7, 0.8, production costs are below 1,000. So in this kind of market, Fresnillo making a lot of money out of this deposit. And I think very keen to find some more around the area. To add, you can see Fresnillo moving more and more to gold production. They obviously are in partnership with Peter at what is a fantastic silver deposit, but they're definitely interested in gold in this part of the world.
Another question for Reyna Gold as well. What is the infrastructure and access to the property in and around La Gloria?
Yeah, it's great. We're just less than 20 kilometers to the city of Caborca. The staff live, when we're on site, they stay in Caborca. We have a house, a Reyna Gold house. We have a core shack there. There's a paved highway up to the property, actually goes all the way up to the US border to Arizona, Highway 2. And then there's lots of access roads on the property. There's electricity to the Chanate mine just next door. Really, you couldn't ask for better infrastructure for an exploration project.
So the next question, it's a general one, but how many ounces are we talking global? 1 million ounces or 10 million or 20 million?
Right, it's early days, but I think we're looking just between. We're really focused on the main zone, the Shearzone, and the quartz veining. So let's just focus. I don't really want to put any firm numbers out at this stage. It's very early,
but maybe one thing that we can make emphasis on is we do have it's almost at 20. I think I don't know if that message came across, but it's 25,000 hectares. And there's two, like when you see that the slide at the beginning that Michael showed, it's so obvious. I think it's almost 5 kilometers. And we have, the basis of the project, the part that has been drilled is what we call the main pit, and that's what the sort of the historic drilling. I think they drill about 220 holes, but we've identified multiple targets covering pretty much every corner of the property, and I think Michael very wisely is not wanting to put a number, but I think suffice to say that we're not looking for a small project. We think this property has a potential for something big, and of course it's now up to us to find that. But the project comes with a very strong basis of historic work, and then since we put the company together over the last year, the work that we have been doing is really looking for targets. Obviously the easiest parts are the ones that already have some drilling, but really looking for targets, and these press release that we put out this morning is not insignificant. It's something like over 1,000 samples across 25,000 hectares of property, and as Michael was saying, a very large number of them are bearing gold that's significant. So I think I think that will be a good message to leave with you.
Yeah, I think just just on the western fault, that's 32 kilometers on our property, and like we're showing mineralization basically from top to bottom along there. So that's massive. But like we just started, so let's refrain from putting out prospective numbers because we're far from that.
And then I see a question here, Michael, that maybe you can address because it's sort of in parallel. They're asking how many meters you're planning for this year.
We're planning initially 10,000 meters. Really, we're going to assess the initial results and plan from there. But we're budgeting at 10,000 meters is 2,000 US, 2.5 million Canadian for the initial drilling, and we'll assess that initial work and then move forward. But I think in this part of the world, hopefully we have the capacity now. We have the team on ground. We can just keep identifying drill targets and basically leave the drill rigs turning. Is the intention, but we're just starting out, so we'll see what the initial results are like. If we get the results that we expect, then yeah, I think we're in a good position where we can keep the rigs turning. If we need to go back to the drawing board and reassess, then we may have a bit of a hiatus. But the intention is to advance the property pretty quickly. I think we're in the start of a good gold market. We want to build up a substantial resource, add a lot of value to the company.
We actually received a lot of questions, but we're running out of time. Maybe if we can answer a couple more. So question for you, Peter. You seem to be quite excited about what you found at Medicine Springs. Why and what's next?
Well, I always get excited by district scale projects as they emerge and start to confirm the fact that it's a big system. I mean, we come into this with a mental checklist of features we like to see. Medicine Springs is just ticking off one box after another. Those checklists are based on evaluating giant systems like this all over the world. So you get one that's telling you that, yeah, it's got a trunk, it's got big ears, it's got a big legs, it's looking like an elephant. That's the kind of thing that gets me out of bed in the morning.
Great. Well, and maybe the last question, is all of your analysis on split core or does some involve full core? So this question is for Reyna Silver.
We always use split core. We need to have a testament sample for somebody independent to come in and take a look at what we have. So we get very good core recovery from Globex, and it's always split core. That's industry standard best practices.
Well, and just a general question for both companies. What does the news flow look like for both companies over the next few months? So
maybe I'll start on my end. We will be putting a press release or a series of press releases on Guigui and Batopilas on our drill results. We'll do that as soon as we can. We'll continue to do sampling work actually at our three projects, but primarily at Batopilas and Medicine Springs. And we'll also keep everyone informed of the progress as we do our permitting for drilling at Medicine Springs. But really, obviously the big news flow from drilling at Guigui and Batopilas, we're working on getting those results back and completing the next stages of drilling in both. And we're moving quite well, and that's what's on the plate on our end.
And at Reyna Gold's end, we're ongoing with sampling. We will have more sample results coming out on I think, a pretty continuous basis, and then obviously start drilling. Hopefully we start drilling second week of February, ballpark is what we're aiming for, but we'll see how we progress. But definitely early to mid-February, we aim to start work, and then hopefully, we can start getting some drill results out kind of end of April time, which would be fantastic. Start showing the market some results before the summer break is definitely the aim. So ongoing sampling and then drilling coming.
Yeah, then maybe I have one more comment just for everybody who's listening to the webinar. If anybody, we do have some copies available of this book called The Silver Magnet, which is a book that's very well written about the history of our Batopilas project. If anybody wants a copy, feel free to send me a message at info@reynasilver.com or jorge@reynasilver.com, and I'll be sending your address. We'll be happy to send you a copy. And I see there's a few questions we didn't get to, but I think we have everybody's email and their name. So what we'll do is in the next few hours, make sure to send you the answer. And if there's any more questions, of course, feel free to reach out to us.
Yeah, for sure. We will make sure to have them answered. Well, thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Jorge and Michael. And enjoy the rest of the day. And we will make this recording available within the next couple of days.
Thank you, Dina. Thank you for hosting us. And thank you, Peter and Michael. Great to see you both.
Thanks, everybody. Good luck tomorrow, Michael.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.